To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Call. Michael Howe was helping his daughter Emma with her geometry homework when his phone buzzed. Tuesday evening, 6:30, the exact time when his world usually felt most complete. Trina in the kitchen, the smell of garlic and rosemary drifting through their suburban home, Emma's pencil scratching across graph paper. Ordinary. Safe. His. Dad, I don't get this angle thing, Emma said, her nose scrunched in frustration. Michael smiled, pointing at the triangle. Think of it like flanking positions. You can't attack head-on when his phone buzzed again. Ron Finley. His brother-in-law didn't call during dinner unless it was important. Hey Ron, where are you right now? Ron's voice was tight, cop-tight, the tone Michael recognized from their years of knowing each other. Ron was a detective with Metro PD, 15 years on the force, and he didn't rattle easily. Home with my family. What? A pause. Then, barely above a whisper. Lock every door and window right now. Don't tell your wife why. Michael's body went rigid, his training kicking in before his conscious mind caught up. 8 years in military intelligence had wired certain responses into his nervous system. His eyes swept the room, cataloging exits, sight lines, potential threats. Ron, what's wrong? We just got a terrifying call about your wife. Emergency dispatch, anonymous tip. They're saying she's. Ron's voice dropped even lower. They're saying she's planning something violent. Against you. Against Emma. The caller provided details, Mike. Specific details about your house, your routine. We're on our way, but I needed to warn you first. Protocol says I shouldn't, but your family. The words didn't compute. Trina? His wife of 12 years. The woman who cried during dog food commercials and volunteered at the children's hospital? That's insane. You know Trina wouldn't. I know, but the call was convincing. Really convincing. And Mike. Ron hesitated. The caller mentioned the Kabul incident. Michael's blood froze. The Kabul incident. 7 years buried. Classified. Only a handful of people knew the details. He'd been part of a military intelligence unit that exposed a smuggling ring, weapons, information, and worse. They'd arrested 15 people, but the investigation had been sealed. How would anyone know to connect that to him now? Who made the call? Anonymous. Untraceable so far. But whoever it was knows things they shouldn't. Just lock down and wait for us. 20 minutes. Michael ended the call and stood, his mind already racing through possibilities. This wasn't random. Someone was making a move against him, using the system, using his wife as the weapon. Dad. Emma looked up, worried. Is Uncle Ron okay? He's fine, sweetheart. Michael kept his voice level, casual. Hey, why don't you go help Mom in the kitchen? I need to check something in the garage. As Emma skipped away, Michael moved through the house with practiced efficiency. He locked the front door, checked the security system, armed and functioning. Back door locked. Windows secured. His home office was at the rear of the house, and he opened the safe hidden behind a bookshelf. Inside, his service weapon, never touched since he'd left the military, and 3 phones. Burner phones he'd kept out of old habit. He powered one up and dialed a number he hadn't called in 6 years. Boyle, the voice answered. Alex, it's Michael Howe. A pause. Howe? Jesus, it's been ages. What's wrong? Alex Boyle had been his handler in military intelligence, now working private security in D.C. If anyone could access information quickly and quietly, it was him. Someone just called the police about my wife. False report, but they mentioned Kabul. The sealed operation. I need to know who's digging into my past. Give me an hour. Alex's tone had shifted to business. I'll call this number back. Michael pocketed the phone and returned to the living room just as Trina emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She was beautiful in that effortless way. Dark hair pulled back, green eyes that always seemed to see right through him. You look tense, she said, touching his arm. Everything okay? He wanted to tell her everything, but Ron's warning echoed in his mind. The cops were coming. Whatever was happening, it would unfold in minutes, and he needed to control the narrative. Ron's coming by. Work stuff. Not quite a lie. Just then, Emma called from the dining room. Mom, there's someone at the door. Michael's hand instinctively moved toward his hip where his weapon used to sit. Through the front window, he could see 2 police cruisers pulling up, lights off, but unmistakable. Ron was in the lead car. But behind them, Barely visible in the evening shadows was another vehicle. A black sedan, windows tinted, idling at the corner. Watching. Michael's jaw tightened. This wasn't just a false report. This was surveillance. Planning. Someone was orchestrating this, and they were close. Trina, he said quietly, stay with Emma. Don't answer any questions without me present. Her eyes widened. Michael, what's going on? The doorbell rang. Just trust me, he said, and went to face whatever came next. Chapter 2. Ghosts and Grudges. Ron Finley stood on the porch with another detective, a woman Michael didn't recognize. Ron's face was apologetic but professional, the expression of a cop doing his job, even when it hurt. Mike, this is Detective Vera Daly. We need to speak with Trina. Michael stepped aside, letting them in but positioning himself between the detectives and his family. Old habits. What exactly was reported? Vera Daly was all business, mid-40s, sharp eyes that had seen too much. We received a call at 1815 claiming that Trina Howe had made threats against you and your daughter. The caller stated she'd purchased a firearm illegally and was planning to use it tonight. That's ridiculous, Trina said from behind Michael, her voice shaking. I've never even held a gun. Mike, tell them. The caller provided specific information, Vera continued. Your daily routine, your security system code, details about a life insurance policy worth $2 million taken out 6 months ago. Michael's mind sharpened. The insurance policy was real. They'd updated it after he'd started his security consulting firm, standard procedure. But only family, their lawyer, and the insurance company knew about it. This wasn't random harassment. Someone had access to their private information. Who made the call? Michael asked. Anonymous, routed through multiple proxies. But there's more. Vera pulled out her phone, played an audio recording. A distorted voice, clearly modified. Trina Howe is planning to kill her husband Michael Howe and daughter Emma Howe tonight. She has a weapon hidden in the home office, behind the bookshelf. She's been planning this for months since discovering her husband's affair. Affair? Trina's voice cracked. Michael, There is no affair, Michael said firmly. This is a setup. Someone's trying to destabilize us. We still need to search the premises, Vera said. Standard procedure. Ron stepped forward. Mike, we have to. Michael nodded slowly. He could refuse, make them get a warrant, but that would only delay the inevitable and make them look guilty. Fine. Search. You won't find anything. But as the detectives moved through the house, Michael's burner phone vibrated in his pocket. A text from Alex Boyle. Got something. Call me ASAP. This is bigger than you think. Michael excused himself to the backyard, dialing quickly. Talk to me, he said when Alex answered. Your past caught up with you, brother. Remember Gary Maxwell from the Kabul operation? Michael's blood ran cold. Gary Maxwell. He'd been a civilian contractor, working logistics for the military. What they discovered was that Maxwell was running a side business, selling classified information to enemy combatants, facilitating weapons smuggling, even suspected in the disappearance of 2 local interpreters who'd been helping coalition forces. Michael's unit had built the case that sent Maxwell to federal prison. He got out 3 months ago, Alex continued. Early release, good behavior. And Mike? He made threats before he left. Said he'd destroy the people who destroyed him. Starting with you. How do you know this? I've got contacts at the Bureau. When you called, I ran Maxwell's name. He's been busy since release. New identity. Moved to Virginia, started a tech company. Legitimate on the surface, but he's been accessing dark web markets, hiring people. Mike, this guy has resources and a serious grudge. Michael's mind raced. Maxwell wasn't just making a move. He'd been planning this for years. The false police report was just the opening salvo. What's his play? From what I can gather, he wants to ruin your life piece by piece. Discredit your wife, get her arrested maybe. Destroy your business reputation. Isolate you. Then, Alex paused. Then I think he wants you to know it was him before he finishes the job. He won't get that far. Mike, this guy's connected now. Money, people, tech. You need to be smart about this. I'm always smart. Michael ended the call and turned back to the house. Through the window, he could see Vera and Ron searching his office. They wouldn't find a weapon because there wasn't one, but Maxwell knew that. This was about the process, the humiliation, the seed of doubt planted in the minds of his neighbors who were surely watching the police cars. The black sedan was still at the corner. Michael took a photo with his phone, zoomed in. He couldn't see the driver clearly, but he didn't need to. Maxwell wanted him to know he was being watched. Inside, Vera emerged from the office empty-handed. Nothing. The tip was false. Obviously, Trina said, tears in her eyes now. Can you please leave? This is humiliating. We're sorry for the intrusion, Ron said genuinely. But we had to follow up. Mike, can I talk to you outside? On the porch, Ron lowered his voice. This felt wrong from the start. Too elaborate for a prank, too specific to be random. It's targeted, Michael agreed. Someone's coming after me. You know who? I have an idea. Someone from my military days. He just got out of federal prison. Ron's cop instincts kicked in. You think this is revenge? I know it is. And this won't be the last move. He's going to escalate. Then we need to get ahead of it. File a report, get protective surveillance. No. Michael's voice was firm. That's what he wants. Get the system involved, tie me up in red tape, make me defensive. I need to move first. Mike, if you know who's threatening you, let us handle it legally. Ron, this guy spent 7 years in federal prison planning his revenge. He's not going to slip up and leave evidence. I need to handle this my way. Ron studied him for a long moment. Your way meaning? Meaning I'm going to find him, figure out his plan, and stop him before he hurts my family. Whatever it takes. Be careful. Don't do anything that'll land you in prison. Michael smiled grimly. I'll be careful not to get caught. After Ron left, Michael returned inside to find Trina sitting on the couch, Emma beside her. His wife's eyes were red but defiant. Tell me what's really happening, she demanded. Michael sat across from them, choosing his words carefully. Someone I helped put in prison years ago is out. He's coming after me by going after you and Emma. But I'm going to stop him. How? By being better than him. Smarter. More prepared. He took Trina's hand. I need you to trust me. Things might get strange for a while, but I promise you, I will keep this family safe. Emma looked scared. Is the bad man going to hurt us? Michael pulled his daughter close. No, sweetheart. I won't let that happen. But even as he said it, his mind was already 3 steps ahead, planning his counteroffensive. Maxwell wanted to play games? Fine. Michael Howe had spent 8 years in military intelligence learning how to dismantle threats. It was time to dust off those skills. The black sedan was gone when he checked the window again, but Michael knew Maxwell would be watching, waiting for his next move. Good. Let him watch. Let him think he had the advantage. Because Michael was about to show him exactly what happened when you threatened a man who'd spent years hunting predators. This was just beginning. Chapter 3, The Second Wave. Michael didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in his office, 3 laptops open, pulling together everything he could find on Gary Maxwell. Alex had sent over files, Maxwell's prison records, early release documents, a list of known associates. What emerged was a picture of a man who'd used his time inside productively, networking with other white-collar criminals, studying cryptocurrency and cyber warfare. Maxwell's new company, Donahue and Maxwell Tech Solutions, was registered in Delaware, with a business partner named Evan Donahue. Michael dug into Donahue's background. Another former contractor, no criminal record, but rumors of gray area dealings. Together, they'd built a legitimate-looking tech firm that specialized in security systems and data analytics. The irony wasn't lost on Michael. His enemy now sold the same services Michael did. At 3 a.m., the first email arrived. Michael's personal account, not his business one. The subject line was empty, but the message was clear. Did you enjoy the police visit? That was just a taste. By the time I'm done, you'll have nothing. No wife, no daughter, no reputation. Just like you left me with nothing. Watch your back, Hal. I'm closer than you think. GM. Michael stared at the screen. Maxwell was taunting him, confirming what he already knew. But the email was a mistake. It gave Michael something to trace. He forwarded it to Alex with a note. Trace this. I need his location. By dawn, Michael had a plan. He couldn't wait for Maxwell to make the next move. He needed to flip the script, go on offense. His first call was to an old friend from his intelligence days, Salvador McNeil, now running a private investigation firm in Arlington. Sal, I need surveillance on someone. Full package, movements, contacts, financials. Who's the target? Gary Maxwell. Lives in Arlington, runs Donahue and Maxwell Tech. I need to know everything he does, everyone he talks to. What's this about, Mike? Revenge. His against me, mine against him. Whoever moves smarter wins. Sal chuckled. Well, you've got the best motivation. I'll have someone on him by noon. Next, Michael needed to secure his family. He couldn't have them vulnerable while he worked. He called his parents in Florida. Mom, I need a favor. Can Trina and Emma come stay with you for a few weeks? I've got a security situation I need to handle. His mother, bless her, didn't ask too many questions. Of course, honey. Is everyone okay? They will be. I'll explain later. Trina resisted at first, but Michael laid it out clearly. Maxwell won't stop with false police reports. He'll escalate. I need you and Emma somewhere safe while I deal with this. And what exactly does dealing with this mean? It means I'm going to make him regret ever thinking about our family. By noon, Trina and Emma were on a flight to Tampa. Michael drove them to the airport himself, constantly checking his mirrors for tails. The black sedan appeared twice, but kept its distance. Good. Maxwell wanted him to know he was being watched. It would make what came next even better. Back home, Michael activated the security protocol he'd designed for exactly this scenario. Hidden cameras outside, motion sensors, reinforced locks. His house was now a fortress. Then he made a call that surprised even him. Morris O'Brien Investigative Services. Morris, it's Michael Howe. I need a consultation. Today, if possible. Morris O'Brien was a private investigator with a reputation for walking ethical gray lines. He got results, but he wasn't afraid to bend rules. Michael had worked with him twice in the past year on background checks for high-profile clients. They met at a diner in Fairfax, far from prying eyes. Morris was in his 50s, grizzled and cynical, but sharp as a blade. What do you need? Morris asked, sipping bad coffee. Michael slid a folder across the table. Everything on Gary Maxwell and Evan Donahue. And I mean everything. Bank records, phone logs, business dealings. The stuff that's not exactly public record. Morris raised an eyebrow. That's expensive and somewhat illegal. I know. Name your price. 20 grand. Half up front. Done. Michael had savings for emergencies. This qualified. How long? 3 days. Maybe 4. Make it 2 and I'll double your fee. Morris smiled. Now we're talking. What's this guy done to you? He's trying to destroy my life. I'm going to destroy him first, but I need ammunition. That afternoon, Sal's team confirmed Maxwell's location. A townhouse in Arlington, expensive neighborhood, security system. Maxwell had been seen meeting with 3 different people over the past 2 days, all with criminal backgrounds. Muscle for hire. The picture was becoming clear. Maxwell wasn't working alone. He had money, connections, and a team. He was planning something bigger than harassment. At 6 p.m., Michael's business phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. Michael Howe. Mr. Howe, this is Leroy Wagner from Prestige Security Systems. We're calling to inform you that your business license and insurance have been flagged for investigation. There have been complaints about improper handling of client data. Michael's jaw clenched. Complaints from whom? Anonymous reports. We're required by law to suspend your license pending investigation. You'll receive formal notice tomorrow. Michael hung up and immediately called his business attorney, Alfred Powell. After explaining the situation, Alfred confirmed Michael's suspicions. This is harassment, Mike. The complaints are vague and unverifiable. It'll take weeks to clear up, but it will clear up. Weeks I don't have. Maxwell's trying to sink my business. Then we fight back. I'll file counter complaints, demand transparency. But Mike, Alfred hesitated. Be careful. If this guy's as connected as you say, he might have legal cover for what he's doing. After the call, Michael sat in his office, staring at Maxwell's file. The pattern was clear: destroy credibility, isolate, attack. Classic psychological warfare. Maxwell was patient, methodical, probably enjoying every moment. But Maxwell had made one critical mistake. He'd assumed Michael would fight defensively, react to each attack, stay on his heels. That's what most people did when targeted. Michael wasn't most people. At midnight, he drove to Arlington, parking 3 blocks from Maxwell's townhouse. He'd done reconnaissance missions in hostile territory where one mistake meant death. This was child's play by comparison. Using night vision equipment from his military days, he surveyed the property. 2 guards outside, rotating shifts. Security cameras, but positioned poorly, blind spots at the side entrance. Michael took photos, notes, mapped the entire block. Maxwell felt safe here, protected. That confidence would be his downfall. Back home at 3 a.m., Michael received an encrypted message from Alex Boyle. Maxwell's been accessing the dark web, specifically forums for hiring contractors. Not the construction kind. The kind that make problems disappear. Mike, I think he's planning something violent. Michael stared at the message. Maxwell wasn't just playing mind games anymore. He was escalating to actual violence, which meant Michael's timeline just got much shorter. He pulled up the email Maxwell had sent, reading it again. I'm closer than you think. Then Michael smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that had terrified enemy combatants in Kabul. Because Maxwell was right. He was close. Close enough to be vulnerable. Close enough for Michael to strike first. The hunter had just become the hunted, and Maxwell didn't even know it yet. Chapter 4. Gathering Intel. Morris O'Brien delivered 48 hours later, and the information was gold. Michael sat in his office, spreading documents across his desk. Bank statements showed Maxwell had liquidated assets worth nearly $500,000 in the past month. Money moving through shell companies and cryptocurrency wallets. Phone records revealed calls to known criminals. 2 ex-cons specialized in intimidation, a hacker who'd done time for identity theft, and someone listed only as LW. Likely Lon Slaughter, a convicted arsonist who'd been released 6 months ago. But the real breakthrough was in Maxwell's business records. Donahue and Maxwell Tech wasn't just a front. They were actively running a sophisticated operation. They'd signed contracts with 3 major corporations, installing security systems that gave them backdoor access to sensitive data. It was the same game Maxwell had played in Kabul, just with a corporate veneer. He's building capital for something big, Michael muttered to himself. His burner phone rang. Alex Boyle. Mike, we've got a problem. Maxwell just purchased weapons. AR-15s, ammunition, enough to start a small war. All legal purchases through intermediaries, but the timing is bad. How soon? Could be any day. My source says Maxwell's been talking about a final confrontation. He wants you to know it's coming, wants you afraid. Michael leaned back in his chair. Fear. That's what Maxwell was selling, but he didn't understand his target. Michael had operated in war zones where death was a daily possibility. Fear was just another variable to manage. Good. Let him think he's winning. Meanwhile, I need you to do something for me. Name it. I need fake evidence. Records showing Maxwell's company has been engaging in corporate espionage. Make it look real enough to interest the FBI, but traceable back to legitimate sources. Alex whistled. You're framing him? I'm giving law enforcement a reason to look closer. Once they start digging, they'll find the real dirt. I'm just pointing them in the right direction. That's risky. If they trace it back to you, they won't. Use your best people. Make it clean. After hanging up, Michael checked his surveillance feeds. Sal's team had Maxwell under constant watch now, and the reports were concerning. Maxwell had been meeting with his crew daily, rehearsing something. They'd driven by Michael's house 3 times in the past week, each time photographing it from different angles. They were planning an assault. Michael pulled up the blueprints of his house, studying them with fresh eyes. He'd always been security conscious, but now he needed to think tactically. Where would Maxwell attack from? Front door was too exposed. Back door had good cover, but fewer escape routes. Windows? Possible, but risky in a suburban neighborhood. Then it hit him. Maxwell wouldn't attack the house. He'd lure Michael out, somewhere isolated, where he could control the situation. The threatening emails, the surveillance, the business attacks. All of it was designed to stress Michael, make him paranoid, push him into a mistake. Michael needed to flip that script. Make Maxwell think the plan was working, then spring his own trap. He called Sal. I need you to plan information. Make sure Maxwell's people see me meeting someone at Riverside Park tomorrow night. Make it look like I'm desperate, reaching out to criminal contacts for protection. You want to bait him? Exactly. He thinks he's hunting me. Time to show him what a real predator looks like. The next day, Michael executed Phase 1. He drove to Riverside Park, an isolated spot along the Potomac, making sure Maxwell's surveillance team could follow easily. At the park, he met with a friend from his gym, a guy who looked the part of hired muscle. They talked for 20 minutes, Michael handing over an envelope, empty except for blank paper, then parted ways. Sal's team confirmed Maxwell's people had photographed the entire meeting. That night, Michael received another email from Maxwell. Getting desperate? How? Hiring thugs won't save you. Nothing will. See you soon. Perfect. Maxwell was taking the bait. But Michael had another problem. His business attorney called with bad news. Mike, the license suspension is moving forward. They've added more complaints, all anonymous. Someone's really gunning for you. Let it play out. I've got bigger concerns. There's more. Someone filed a restraining order against you. A woman named Jane Calhoun claims you stalked her, threatened her. It's complete fiction, but it's tied up in the court system now. Michael's blood boiled. Jane Calhoun. He didn't know anyone by that name, which meant Maxwell had hired someone to play a victim. It was brilliant in its cruelty. Damage Michael's reputation further. Make him look unstable. Fight it, Michael said. But don't make it a priority. This will all be over soon. After the call, Michael checked in with Trina. She and Emma were safe in Florida, though Trina was getting anxious about the separation. How much longer? She asked over FaceTime. Few more days. I'm close to ending this. Mike, please be careful. Whatever you're planning. I know what I'm doing. Trust me. That night, Morris O'Brien came through again with a disturbing discovery. Maxwell had rented a warehouse in Southeast D.C., paying cash for 3 months up front. Sal's team did a flyby. The warehouse was isolated, surrounded by abandoned industrial buildings. That's where he'll take you, Morris said over the phone. Classic abduction site. Remote. No witnesses. Easy to dispose of evidence. Michael studied the satellite images of the warehouse. Maxwell was planning something theatrical, something personal. He wanted Michael to suffer before the end, which gave Michael an idea. A dangerous, possibly insane idea, but one that could end this decisively. Morris, I need you to hack into the warehouse security system. Can you do that? Probably. Why? Because I'm going to let Maxwell take me there, and then I'm going to destroy him on his own turf. Chapter 5. The Setup. Michael spent the next 2 days preparing for the most dangerous gambit of his life. If Maxwell wanted a confrontation in his warehouse, Michael would give him one, but on Michael's terms. First, he needed weapons. His old service pistol wasn't enough. He called a former Army buddy, Gabriel Dennis, who ran a gun shop in West Virginia. Gabe, I need hardware. Off the books. How off the books are we talking? The kind that doesn't trace back to anyone. Gabe whistled. You in trouble? I'm ending trouble. Can you help? For you? Always. Come by tonight. Michael drove 3 hours to Gabe's shop after closing time. In the back room, Gabe had laid out an arsenal, 2 Glock 19s, a tactical shotgun, ammunition, body armor, zip ties, and a police-grade taser. You planning a war? Gabe asked. Just finishing one. Michael paid cash, $20,000, and loaded everything into his truck. Back home, Michael set up his trap. He'd had Morris hack the warehouse security system, giving him access to every camera, every door lock, every electrical system. Maxwell thought he controlled that space. He was wrong. Next, Michael needed Maxwell to commit. He sent an email from an anonymous account to one of Maxwell's known associates, posing as a corrupt cop willing to sell information about Michael's movements. The bait. Michael would be alone at his house tomorrow night. No security, vulnerable. Sal confirmed within hours that Maxwell's team had received the message and were discussing it. They were planning to move tomorrow night. Michael made a call to Ron Finley. Ron, I need you to trust me. Tomorrow night, I'm going to text you an address. Give me exactly 2 hours before you come to that location with backup. No matter what you hear, wait exactly 2 hours. Mike, what are you planning? Justice. Just promise me 2 hours. Ron was silent. Then, I can't officially agree to this. Unofficially, 2 hours. But if you get yourself killed, Trina will never forgive me. I won't die. The other guys might not be so lucky. The next day crawled by. Michael checked his equipment 3 times, ran through scenarios, prepared for every contingency. He called Trina one last time. I love you, he said. Tell Emma I love her too. This'll all be over soon. Michael, you're scaring me. Don't be scared. I'm the scariest thing in this fight. At 7 p.m., Michael positioned himself in his house, lights on, moving around where cameras could see him. Maxwell's surveillance team was watching. Sal had confirmed their presence in a vehicle 2 blocks away. At 8:30, his security system chimed. Someone was cutting the power from outside. Michael smiled. Right on schedule. He moved to his predetermined position in the hallway, waiting in darkness. He'd disabled his visible security cameras, but had hidden backup cameras running on battery power, recording everything. The back door lock clicked. They'd bypassed it quickly, professional work. Michael counted 4 sets of footsteps entering. Maxwell had sent his crew first, probably watching from somewhere safe. Michael let them search the ground floor, then deliberately made a sound upstairs. He heard them communicating via radio. Targets upstairs. Moving to intercept. As they climbed the stairs, Michael moved silently down the hallway toward his office. He'd left the door open, lights off, creating an obvious ambush point. The crew would clear it first. Right on cue, two men entered the office. Michael heard them checking corners, professional movements. Then one of them spoke into his radio. Office is clear. Target's not. Michael had slipped behind them during their search, moving like a ghost. The first man went down with a taser to the back, convulsing silently. The second spun around, but Michael was already inside his guard. A punch to the solar plexus dropping him to his knees. A follow-up strike to the temple, and he was unconscious. Two down. The other two were still downstairs. Michael moved to the stairwell, staying in shadows. He could see them in the living room, starting to realize something was wrong when their teammates didn't respond to radio calls. Check upstairs, one of them ordered. As he climbed the stairs, Michael struck from above, using the high ground advantage. A kick to the chest sent the man tumbling backward, crashing into his partner. Michael was on them before they could recover, using their confusion and the confined space. A brutal efficiency born from years of combat training. Within 30 seconds, both were unconscious and zip-tied. Michael checked the time. 8:45. Phase 1 complete. He dragged all four men into his garage, securing them to support beams. When they woke up, they'd find themselves prisoners instead of captors. But Michael wasn't interested in them. They were just hired muscle. He wanted the man who'd sent them. At 9 p.m., his burner phone rang. Maxwell, you're better than I expected, how? But that just makes this more fun. Where are you, Gary? Hiding while your crew does the work. Maxwell laughed. I learned patience in prison. You remember prison, don't you? The place you sent me? 7 years of my life gone because you couldn't mind your own business. You were selling weapons to terrorists. I was making a living, and you destroyed me for it. Took my freedom, my money, my reputation. So now I'm returning the favor. How's your business doing? Your wife? Oh wait, I forgot. She thinks you're having an affair. That was a nice touch, wasn't it? Michael's voice was ice. You made a mistake coming after my family. No, you made the mistake thinking you could ruin my life without consequences. Here's what happens next. You're going to come to the warehouse at 2847 Southeast Drive. Come alone, unarmed. If you don't, I'll make sure your wife and daughter have accidents. Horrible, tragic accidents. I'll be there. Midnight. Don't be late. And how? This is where it ends. For you. The line went dead. Michael looked at his phone. Maxwell had just confessed to multiple crimes on a recorded line. But evidence wouldn't matter if Maxwell carried through on his threats. Michael needed to end this tonight, permanently. He loaded his weapons into the truck, along with the equipment Morris had provided. Then he sent the text to Ron, 2847 Southeast Drive. 2 hours starting at midnight. Bring everything. At 11:30, Michael arrived at the warehouse district. The area was abandoned, perfect for Maxwell's purposes. He parked 3 blocks away and approached on foot, using night vision to scout the perimeter. The warehouse was lit inside. Maxwell wanted him to know he was expected. 2 guards outside, both armed. Security cameras at every corner. It looked impenetrable, but Michael had access to those cameras. He pulled out his phone, opened the app Morris had given him. With a few taps, he took control of the security system. Now he could see everything inside. Maxwell in a makeshift office area, 3 more armed men stationed throughout the warehouse, and in the center, a chair with restraints. They were planning to torture him. Michael smiled grimly. Plans change. At exactly midnight, Michael approached the front entrance, hands visibly empty. The 2 guards searched him for weapons, finding nothing. They led him inside, where Maxwell waited, drink in hand, looking triumphant. Michael, how? Finally. Do you know how long I've waited for this moment? 7 years, I'm guessing. 7 years, for months, and 16 days. Every single day, I thought about what I'd do to you. And now here you are. Michael looked around the warehouse. Impressive setup. You went to a lot of trouble. You're worth the trouble. Sit. The guards pushed Michael toward the chair. He didn't resist, letting them strap his arms and legs down. They were thorough, but not thorough enough. Michael had trained in escape techniques. These restraints would hold a normal person. He wasn't normal. Maxwell circled him like a predator. I want you to understand something before we begin. Everything you're about to experience, every moment of pain, is your fault. You did this to yourself when you destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life by betraying your country. Maxwell's fist crashed into Michael's jaw. Pain exploded through his skull, but he'd been hit harder in training. He spit blood and grinned. That all you got? Maxwell's face twisted with rage. You think you're tough? We'll see. I'm going to break you piece by piece. Then I'm going to send pieces of you to your wife. Let her know what happens to heroes who play God. You talk a lot for someone who hired others to do his dirty work. Oh, I'm going to do this work personally. Maxwell picked up a knife from a nearby table. Starting now. But as he approached, the lights went out. The warehouse plunged into darkness, emergency lights flickering on. Maxwell spun around. What the hell? That would be me, Michael said calmly, and snapped the restraints. He'd been working them loose since he sat down, and the power outage, triggered remotely by his phone, was the signal. Michael moved fast in the darkness, his night vision giving him an advantage. He took down the nearest guard with a strike to the throat, grabbing the man's weapon. Gunfire erupted in the darkness, muzzle flashes revealing positions. Michael rolled behind concrete pillars, returning fire with precision. Maxwell's men were shooting blind. Michael wasn't. Find him, Maxwell screamed. Kill him. But Michael had already moved, circling around through the shadows. He'd memorized the warehouse layout from the security footage. Every pillar, every exit, every sight line. This wasn't Maxwell's trap anymore. It was Michael's. Chapter 6, Endgame. The warehouse had become a maze of shadows and violence. Michael moved through it like a ghost, picking off Maxwell's men one by one. Years of military training had prepared him for exactly this scenario. Outnumbered in hostile territory, turning disadvantage into advantage through superior tactics. The first guard went down with a bullet to the leg, screaming into the darkness. Michael didn't kill unnecessarily, but he made sure each target was neutralized. The second guard tried to flank him but walked into a trap Michael had set. A tripwire connected to a fire extinguisher that exploded in his face, the chemical spray blinding him. Where is he? Maxwell's voice echoed through the warehouse, panic creeping into his rage. Michael checked his watch. 11 minutes since the lights went out. He needed to end this before Maxwell tried to flee. He used his phone to restore partial power, bringing up the emergency lights just enough to create long shadows. Then he spoke, his voice amplified through the warehouse's PA system, another feature Morris had given him access to. You wanted to know what breaking feels like, Maxwell? You're about to find out. Maxwell spun around, trying to locate the source of the voice. His remaining two guards were spooked, weapons sweeping the darkness. Michael activated the next phase. The security cameras, still under his control, suddenly projected onto screens throughout the warehouse. Footage began playing. Maxwell's meetings with criminals, discussions about attacking Michael's family, the email confessions. Every incriminating moment captured and displayed. That's being uploaded to the FBI right now, Michael announced. Along with evidence of your corporate espionage, weapons trafficking, and conspiracy to commit murder. Even if you walk out of here tonight, you're finished. You think you've won? Maxwell shouted into the darkness. I'll disappear. New identity, new life. You can't stop me. Watch me. Michael dropped from a catwalk he'd climbed while they were distracted, landing behind one of the guards. A quick takedown, and the man was unconscious. The last guard panicked and fired wildly, bullets sparking off metal pipes. Michael returned fire with precision, hitting the guard's weapon and sending it flying from his hands. The man raised his hands in surrender. Now it was just Maxwell. Michael stepped out of the shadows, weapon raised. Maxwell stood in the center of the warehouse, surrounded by evidence of his own crimes, guards defeated around him. It's over, Gary. Maxwell laughed bitterly. Nothing's over. You think the law will touch me? I have money, connections. I'll be out before. Before what? Before your business partner, Evan Donahue, testifies against you? He's been cooperating with the FBI for the last 3 hours. Turns out he kept detailed records of everything you did, just in case he needed insurance. Maxwell's face went white. You're lying. Am I? Michael pulled out his phone, showing an email from Alex Boyle. It was real. Donahue had turned the moment the FBI approached him with evidence. He'd given them everything: financial records, communications, plans. Maxwell had been betrayed by the person he trusted most. You see, I didn't just prepare for tonight. I prepared for everything. Your whole operation, every person you hired, Every plan you made, I knew about it. And I dismantled it piece by piece. Maxwell's hand moved toward his waistband, pulling a hidden pistol. But Michael was faster. A single shot, and the weapon flew from Maxwell's hand. Maxwell dropped to his knees, clutching his bleeding hand. You destroyed my life, Maxwell sobbed. I lost everything. No, Michael said coldly. You destroyed your own life when you chose treason over honor. I just made sure you face consequences. And now you'll face them again. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ron Finley was right on time, 2 hours after Michael had entered the warehouse. Michael approached Maxwell, looking down at the broken man. I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you came after my family and lost. Remember that when you sit in federal prison for the rest of your life. Police cars surrounded the warehouse, armed officers flooding in. Ron entered first, weapon drawn, then lowered it when he saw the scene. Maxwell on his knees, his guards disabled around him, Michael standing victorious. Jesus Christ, Mike, Ron breathed. What happened here? Justice, Michael said simply. He confessed to everything. It's all recorded. He handed Ron a flash drive containing all the evidence, videos, audio, documents. Everything needed to put Maxwell away forever. As FBI agents arrived and took Maxwell into custody, Michael watched emotionlessly. Maxwell looked up one last time, hatred in his eyes, but also defeat. Total, absolute defeat. I'll come back, Maxwell spat. Someday I'll. No, you won't, Michael interrupted. Because I'll be waiting. And next time, I won't be so merciful. Maxwell was led away in handcuffs, still screaming threats that no one believed anymore. Ron approached Michael. I should arrest you too. You know that, right? Assault, unlawful imprisonment, breaking about 15 laws I can think of. But you won't. No, Ron admitted. Because that bastard threatened my sister and niece. And you protected them. Just don't make a habit of vigilante justice, okay? Michael nodded. This was personal. It's done now. As the FBI processed the scene, Michael slipped away to his truck. He drove home as dawn broke over Virginia, exhausted but satisfied. The nightmare was over. At home, he called Trina. It's finished, he said. You and Emma can come home. Is it really over? Yes. Maxwell's in custody. He won't threaten us again. Trina's relief was audible through the phone. I knew you'd protect us. I never doubted you. I love you. Both of you. I'll never let anyone hurt our family. I know. That's why I married a warrior. Chapter 7. Loose Ends. 3 days later, Michael sat in an FBI interview room, facing 2 agents who looked both impressed and concerned. Special Agent Clayton Klein and his partner, Agent Whitney Hayes, had been assigned to the Maxwell case. Mr. Howe, Clayton began, you understand you're not under arrest. This is just a conversation to help us understand what happened. I understand. Walk us through the night at the warehouse. Michael recounted a carefully edited version of events, how he'd learned of Maxwell's threats, set up surveillance, discovered the planned kidnapping. He emphasized Maxwell's confession, the evidence he'd gathered legally through private investigators, and the fact that he'd acted in self-defense once taken to the warehouse. Whitney leaned forward. You took down 6 armed men, disabled a security system, and turned the tables on someone who'd been planning your murder for months. That's impressive. I was military intelligence for 8 years. It's what I was trained to do. Military intelligence doesn't usually teach hand-to-hand combat at that level, Clayton observed. I cross-trained with special operations units. When you're gathering intelligence in hostile territory, you need to know how to fight. The agents exchanged glances. They knew Michael was holding back details, but they also had a clear-cut case against Maxwell. The evidence he'd provided was overwhelming, and Maxwell's confession was recorded. Here's where we are, Clayton said. Gary Maxwell is facing federal charges, conspiracy to commit murder, assault, weapons violations, and corporate espionage. His partner Evan Donahue is cooperating fully. The 4 men who broke into your home are all testifying in exchange for reduced sentences. This case is airtight. What about the false police reports? The woman he hired to claim I stalked her. Jane Calhoun broke down under questioning. She admitted Maxwell paid her $10,000 to file false claims. She's being charged with filing a false report, but we're going easy on her since she cooperated. All charges against you have been dropped. Michael felt the weight lift from his shoulders. It was truly over. What about my business? The license suspension? Whitney smiled. Already reinstated. Once we showed the regulatory board that the complaints were part of Maxwell's harassment campaign, they expedited your clearance. You should receive formal notification tomorrow. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, Clayton said seriously. You bent some laws, Mr. Howe. The way you handled this wasn't exactly by the book. If I'd gone through proper channels, Maxwell would have killed my family before you could build a case. I did what I had to do. We understand. But consider this your warning. If you ever take the law into your own hands again, we won't be so understanding. You got lucky this time. Next time, you might end up in a cell next to the people you're fighting. There won't be a next time. This was personal. The agents dismissed him with stern looks, but no charges. As Michael left the FBI building, he felt the sun on his face and realized how close he'd come to losing everything. Maxwell had almost succeeded in destroying his life. Almost. His phone rang. Morris O'Brien. Mike, you owe me another 20 grand. Why is that? Because I just found out Maxwell had a backup plan. Insurance, in case you survived. He had someone ready to leak your military records, classified information about the Kabul operation, to the press. Michael's jaw tightened. Who? Guy named Lon Slaughter. The arsonist I mentioned before. I found communications between him and Maxwell, dead man switch arrangement. If Maxwell didn't check in by a certain date, Slaughter was supposed to release the files. Where is he now? That's the 20 grand question. I found him, neutralized the threat. He's been convinced to destroy the files and forget Maxwell ever existed. Let's just say he found religion very quickly when he understood the alternative. Michael smiled grimly. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did. You're one of the good guys, Mike. Can't let bastards like Maxwell keep hurting you from prison. Consider it a professional courtesy. Send me your bill. After hanging up, Michael drove to his parents' house to pick up Trina and Emma. They'd flown back that morning, and he wanted to bring them home personally. When Emma saw him, she ran into his arms. Daddy, did you beat the bad man? I did, sweetheart. He can't hurt us anymore. Trina embraced him tightly. I was so worried. I told you to trust me. I did. But that doesn't mean I wasn't terrified. On the drive home, Trina asked the question Michael had been dreading. What did you do to Maxwell? And don't give me the sanitized version. Michael glanced at Emma in the back seat, asleep despite the daylight. He lowered his voice. I did what needed to be done. Legally when possible, less legally when necessary. But I never crossed the line into becoming like him. How do you know where that line is? Because I never enjoyed it. Maxwell wanted revenge, wanted to make me suffer. I just wanted to stop a threat to our family. That's the difference. Trina was quiet for a moment. Ron told me what you did. How you took on all those men. How you turned Maxwell's trap against him. He said you were like someone else that night. Someone scary. Does that frighten you? No, she said firmly. It reminds me why I fell in love with you. You're a protector. When our family needed you, you became exactly what we needed you to be. I just hope you never have to be that person again. Me too. At home, Michael spent the rest of the day with his family, trying to return to normal. But normal felt different now. He'd been forced to tap into skills and instincts he'd buried after leaving the military. The violence, the tactical thinking, the cold calculation of threats, it had all come rushing back. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Michael sat in his office staring at the wall where Maxwell's file had been pinned for days. He'd taken it all down, but the memories remained. How close he'd come to losing everything. How easy it had been to slip back into warrior mode. His phone buzzed. A news alert. Former military contractor arrested in elaborate revenge plot. FBI credits anonymous tip and victim's evidence in takedown. Michael smiled. The story would fade eventually, replaced by new scandals and crimes. Maxwell would spend decades in prison, and Michael would go back to his quiet life as a security consultant and family man. But now he knew something about himself. That warrior was still inside him, waiting, not for revenge or violence, but to protect what mattered most. His family, his life, his peace. And anyone who threatened those things would meet the same fate as Gary Maxwell. Chapter 8. Trials and Truth. 6 months later, Michael sat in a federal courtroom, watching as Gary Maxwell received his sentence. The trial had been swift, the evidence overwhelming. Maxwell's own recordings, his communications with hired criminals, his confession in the warehouse, all of it presented in clinical detail by federal prosecutors. Maxwell looked diminished in his prison jumpsuit, Nothing like the confident businessman who'd orchestrated the revenge plot. His attorneys had tried every defense, diminished capacity, coercion, even attempted entrapment. Nothing stuck. Judge Gabriel Dennis, no relation to Michael's army buddy, reviewed the evidence one final time. Mr. Maxwell, you orchestrated a campaign of harassment, intimidation, and attempted murder against Michael Howe and his family. You hired criminals, falsified documents, and abused legitimate systems to pursue your vendetta. This court finds your actions reprehensible and entirely without justification. Maxwell's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client spent 7 years in federal prison. He felt he was unjustly convicted. Your client was rightfully convicted of treason and conspiracy. The judge interrupted. His current crimes don't somehow balance that scale. They make things infinitely worse. Mr. Maxwell, do you have anything to say? Maxwell stood slowly, his eyes finding Michael in the gallery. For a moment, pure hatred blazed there. Then resignation. I regret nothing, Maxwell said flatly. Howe destroyed my life. I tried to return the favor. The only thing I regret is failing. The judge's expression hardened. Then you've learned nothing. Gary Maxwell, you are hereby sentenced to 25 years in federal prison, to be served consecutively with the remaining term of your previous sentence. Additionally, you will pay restitution of $2 million to the Howe family for damages, emotional distress, and legal fees. The gavel fell. Maxwell was led away, still glaring at Michael. No remorse, no redemption. Just a broken man consumed by hatred. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Michael had prepared a brief statement. Justice was served today. My family and I can finally move forward. We're grateful to the FBI, local law enforcement, and everyone who helped bring Mr. Maxwell to justice. We have no further comment. Ron Finley waited by Michael's car. How do you feel? Relieved. It's really over now. You know he'll appeal. Let him. He'll lose. The evidence is ironclad. Ron studied his brother-in-law. You've changed, Mike. Since this started. How so? You're harder now. More guarded. Like you're always watching for the next threat. Michael considered this. Maybe I am. Maxwell taught me that enemies don't always look like enemies. Sometimes they look like ordinary people, and by the time you realize what they are, it's almost too late. That's a dark way to live. It's a realistic way to live. I won't let my guard down again. That evening, Michael took Trina and Emma out to dinner, their first real family outing since before Maxwell's campaign began. Emma was excited, chattering about school and her friends, blissfully unaware of how close they'd come to disaster. Dad, my teacher says you're a hero, Emma said between bites of pasta. I'm not a hero, sweetheart. I just protected our family. That's what heroes do. Trina smiled across the table. She's got a point. After dinner, as they walked to the car, Michael noticed a man watching them from across the street. Old instincts kicked in, scanning for threats, calculating escape routes, noting the man's body language. But then the man waved and walked away, just another person on the street. You okay? Trina asked, noticing his tension. Yeah, just adjusting. At home, Michael tucked Emma into bed, reading her favorite story. As she drifted off to sleep, she whispered, I'm glad the bad man can't hurt us anymore. Me too, baby. Sleep tight. In his office later, Michael opened a locked drawer containing one final reminder of the ordeal, the flash drive with all of Maxwell's evidence. He'd kept a copy, insurance against the unlikely event that Maxwell somehow escaped justice. Now, with the trial over and sentence delivered, he could finally let go. He held the drive over his shredder, ready to destroy it. Then hesitated. No, some reminders were worth keeping. Not out of fear, but as a lesson. Evil existed in the world, wore human faces, and sometimes came for the people you loved. The only defense was vigilance and the willingness to fight when necessary. Michael locked the drive away again and closed the drawer. Chapter 9, New Beginning. 1 year after Maxwell's sentencing, Michael stood in his backyard, watching Emma play on her new swing set. The physical scars from that night in the warehouse had healed. A few bruised ribs, split knuckles, nothing permanent. The psychological scars took longer. For months after the trial, Michael had nightmares. In them, Maxwell succeeded. His family died while Michael was too slow, too weak, too late. He'd wake up sweating, checking on Emma, calling Trina if she was traveling for work. The paranoia was real and persistent. But gradually, with Trina's patience and a therapist who specialized in combat trauma, Michael found his way back to peace. The warrior inside didn't disappear. He'd never fully go away, but Michael learned to compartmentalize again. To be a father and husband first, protector second. His business had thrived in the aftermath. Turns out, successfully defending your family from a murderous ex-con was excellent marketing for a security consultant. Michael had more clients than he could handle, all wanting the same thing: someone who understood real threats and how to neutralize them. But he was selective now. He only took clients whose causes he believed in, who genuinely needed protection rather than just paranoid millionaires. Quality over quantity. Ron Finley had been promoted to lieutenant, partly based on his role in the Maxwell case. He visited frequently, becoming even closer to the family after their shared ordeal. You ever think about what might have happened if Maxwell had been smarter? Ron asked one afternoon over beer on the patio. Every day, Michael admitted. He had resources, motivation, patience. If he'd been more subtle, avoided the taunting emails and dramatic gestures, he might have done real damage before I caught on. What stopped him? Ego. He wanted me to know it was him, wanted me to suffer psychologically before the final blow. That need for recognition gave me time to prepare. It's a common mistake with revenge seekers. They can't just win. They need their enemy to acknowledge the loss. You study this stuff now? I read about it. Understanding how vengeful people think helps me protect clients. Maxwell wasn't unique. Lots of people out there nursing grudges, planning payback. The smart ones never act on it. The dangerous ones can't help themselves. You ever worry someone else from your military days might come after you? Michael was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. But I made peace with that possibility. I did my job in Kabul, did it right. If someone wants revenge for being held accountable, that says more about them than me. That night, Michael received an unexpected email. The sender was listed as E. Donahue, Evan Donahue, Maxwell's former business partner who testified against him. Mr. Howe, I know we've never met formally, and I understand if you never want to hear from me, but I felt I owed you an explanation, maybe even an apology. I didn't know the full extent of Gary's plans until the FBI showed me the evidence. I knew he was angry about his time in prison, knew he blamed you for it, but I thought it was just talk, resentment that would fade. By the time I realized he was serious, that he'd hired people to hurt your family, I was in too deep to walk away without consequences. When the FBI offered me immunity for cooperation, I took it, not just to save myself, but because what Gary was doing was wrong. You stopped bad people in Kabul, did your job. You didn't deserve what he tried to do to you. I've had a lot of time to think about choices and consequences. I chose to partner with a man I knew had a dark past, told myself he'd changed. That was naive. I chose to ignore warning signs, to prioritize business over morality. Those choices make me complicit in Gary's campaign against you. So this is me owning that. I'm sorry. You protected your family with courage and intelligence. You're the kind of person I wish I'd been. I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that at least one person involved in this nightmare recognizes what you did and respects it. Evan Donahue. Michael read the email twice, then deleted it without responding. Donahue's conscience was his own problem. Michael had no interest in absolving the man or carrying his guilt. But the email did make him think about his own choices over the past year. He'd crossed ethical lines, bent laws, used violence when perhaps other options existed. He'd justified it as protecting his family, and that was true. But it was also true that part of him had enjoyed the tactical challenge, the return to warrior mode. Second thoughts? Trina asked, reading over his shoulder. Just reflecting. Making sure I'm still the man I want to be. You are. You did what you had to do, but you're not defined by those few weeks. You're defined by the decade before, by the years since, by every day you choose to be a good husband and father. Michael pulled her close. How'd I get so lucky? You didn't. You earned me through years of being exactly who you are. The next morning, Michael drove to the federal prison where Maxwell was serving his sentence. He hadn't planned this visit, hadn't even consciously decided to make it. But he found himself in the visitors' area, waiting for Maxwell to be brought out. When Maxwell appeared behind the glass partition, he looked older, grayer, diminished. Prison was grinding him down. He picked up the phone slowly, eyes wary. Why are you here? Maxwell asked. Closure, Michael said. For both of us. I don't need closure. I know exactly how this ends. I rot in here while you live your perfect life. That's one way to see it. Here's another. You chose revenge over redemption. After your first sentence, you could have rebuilt your life, found legitimate work, become someone better. Instead, you spent 7 years plotting to destroy mine. That choice, not me, put you here. Easy for you to say. You weren't the one in prison. No, I was the one doing my job. You betrayed your country, sold weapons to people who killed American soldiers. When you got caught, that was on you. Everything that happened after was your choice. Maxwell's jaw tightened. So you're here to gloat? No, I'm here to tell you something important. I forgive you. Maxwell blinked, confused. What? I forgive you for threatening my family, for trying to destroy my life. Not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I refuse to carry anger for the next 25 years. You stole enough of my time with your plot. I won't give you another second. I don't want your forgiveness. I know, but I'm giving it anyway for me. You're going to spend decades in here, reliving your failures, nursing your grudges. I'm going to go home to my family and forget you exist. Who do you think made the better choice? Michael stood to leave. Maxwell called after him. I'd do it all again. You deserved everything I tried to do. Michael paused at the door, looked back one final time. That's why you lost. You were fighting for revenge. I was fighting for love. Love always wins. He left without waiting for a response. In the parking lot, he called Trina. I just did something crazy. I visited Maxwell. Why? To prove to myself that he doesn't have power over me anymore. That I can look him in the eye and feel nothing but pity. Did it work? Yeah, it did. I'm coming home now. Let's do something as a family. Maybe go to that pizza place Emma loves. That sounds perfect. As Michael drove home, sun streaming through his windows, he felt lighter than he had in months. The shadow Maxwell had cast over his life was finally gone. Not because Maxwell was in prison, but because Michael had chosen to stop giving him space in his thoughts. He'd learned hard lessons over the past year. That evil could wear familiar faces, that protecting the people you love sometimes required difficult choices, that the line between justice and vengeance was thinner than he'd realized. But he'd also learned that he was stronger than he'd thought, that his training and instincts, dormant for years, could still save lives when needed. That love and duty could coexist with warrior capability. At home, Emma ran to greet him, Trina right behind her. His family, his purpose, the reason he'd fought so hard and would fight again if necessary. Ready for pizza? He asked Emma. Yeah. Can I get extra cheese? You can get whatever you want, sweetheart. As they piled into the car, Michael caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looked tired but content, older but wiser. The events of the past year had changed him, no doubt about that. He was more alert now, more aware of potential threats, quicker to assess situations tactically. But he was also more grateful. Every ordinary moment with his family felt precious now, earned through sacrifice and struggle. The simple joy of pizza with his daughter, of Trina's hand in his, of Ron's phone calls and his parents' visits. All of it mattered more because he knew how easily it could have been taken away. That night, after Emma was asleep and Trina was reading in bed, Michael returned to his office one last time. He pulled out the flash drive containing Maxwell's evidence, held it in his palm. Then, finally, he dropped it into the shredder. The whir of destruction was satisfying, final. No more insurance, no more contingencies. The past was truly past now. Michael shut off the lights and headed to bed, where Trina waited. As he lay down beside her, she turned off her book light and nestled against him. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Both of you. Always. In the darkness, Michael Howe closed his eyes and, for the first time in over a year, slept without nightmares. He'd faced his enemy, protected his family, and emerged victorious not through revenge, but through strength tempered with wisdom. The warrior had done his job. Now the husband and father could rest. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.